Dandasana, the staff or stick pose. For this adjustment, you're going to place your back leg against the spine for support. Then you'll broaden across the collarbones to help open the chest as the shoulders release down. Dandasana, the staff pose. Paschimottanasana, the seated forward bend. For a student who's on the stiff side has trouble touching their toes, or they find themselves in the great posterior tilt in the low back, prop them up on a blanket to give them a little more lift. And then the adjustment for the stiffer person is to just help firm their outer ankles in. And then I take what's called a Roman handshake, wrist to wrist, and on the inhale have them just lengthen up. And on the exhale they can just drop their head down slightly, and you're helping to assist lengthening their spine while it stays in a nice, safe position. And then they'll inhale, come back up, and you can exhale, release. For the more flexible person who can reach their feet easily, or they can use a strap to easily reach the feet, you'll come down, descend the femur bones towards the ground first for a little bit more grounding, firm their outer hips in, again a stabilizing movement, and now you can align them and lengthen them a little bit more, elongating the torso. So it's descend femur bones, firm hips for stabilization, and then adjust. Paschimottanasana, seated forward bend. Johndushashana A, head towards knee pose. On this pose, if your student can reach the feet, they'll reach for the feet. Otherwise, they'll use a strap around the feet to extend the reach. From here, firm the hips down. I press in at the hip crease. And then encourage the side ribs of the bent legs to firm in to help lengthen the torso and keep the shoulders equal height. You can firm the hips back in as they inhale and lengthen, and then they can exhale and fold just a little more. Johndushashana A, head towards knee pose. Marichasana A, the pose of a sage, Marichi. So if you have a stiffer student, you're going to have them leverage their arm against the leg and lengthen their spine. And you can just bring your thigh to the back of their leg and just help them open up here to keep the spine long. A more flexible student will be able to reach around and make the connection, or maybe they'll need to use a strap to help them make the connection. From here, we want to encourage them to keep their hips level. So you can descend the front femur bone and then hold at the shin of the bent knee and draw it back slightly. This will help firm the hips in and stabilize them so they can elongate on their own. Marichasana A, pose of a sage, Marichi. Baddhakonasana, the cobbler's pose. So as we start to get deeper into the hips, again a reminder, prop your students up on a blanket if you find that when they're seated, they're very rounded in the back. So we want to take them out of posterior tilt and lift them up with a blanket to bring them into a more natural curvature of the spine. The first adjustment is a grounding of the hips and an external rotation of the thighs. So the hands are placed at the crease of the thighs, and then we externally rotate the hips back. And now our students can naturally elongate on their own when they have the stabilization and the external rotation of the hips. The second adjustment is to help stabilize the hips as well as elongate the torso. So you'll have your student grab your ankles, and then once they've grabbed your ankles, once again, you're going to find the crease of the hips. The thumbs are forward, the forefingers are pointing back, and you'll externally rotate the hips and ground. And now you might be able to walk your feet out a little bit so that they can get full extension through the spine. So we've got grounding through hips, elongation through the torso. And then you'll slowly come all the way up with sensitivity, releasing at the hips. Baddhakonasana, the cobbler's pose. Upavishta Konasana, seated wide angle pose. So on this deep opener of the hips, you're going to ground the hips again, having your thumbs in front, the forefingers in back, and then you'll externally rotate the thighs and root down. So they're stabilized through the hips, and they can elongate on their own. Seated wide angle pose, Upavishta Konasana. Supta Padangusthasana, supine big toe posture. I'm going to show two different adjustments for this posture. One is for a faster-paced vinyasa style of class or an Ashtanga or power yoga type of class. And the second one is for a class with maybe fewer people or a slower-paced class or maybe with your private clients. The first adjustment, if your student can take their big toe with their first two fingers and thumb, they'll extend their leg, or you can take a strap and place it around the foot to extend their reach. From here, you'll descend the foundational leg thigh towards the ground, descending the femur bone. Have them take a big inhale, and then on the exhale, have them lift their head up towards their knee, and you can gently place your hand on the center of their back for a little support. Grounding foundational legs, supporting the back, having them work their core strength, and then their hamstring flexibility. Inhale, bring your head back down to the ground. And on the exhale, have them bring the leg out to the side as you ground the opposite shoulder and the femur bone of the foundational leg. This prevents them from just flopping over to the side and not using any strength. On the inhale, use the strength of your leg to come all the way back up to center. And on your exhale, go ahead and let your leg down. For our students who aren't quite as flexible, or for students that you just want to teach a little more proper alignment, lift the right leg up. You'll take the strap around the center of the right foot. They'll hold the strap, one in each hand, and then they'll draw the elbows in close to the ribs so the triceps are on the ground. The shoulder blades draw into the back towards the chest, and they can broaden across the collarbones. So their posture is set. The shoulders are away from the ears. From here, we're going to descend the foundational leg thigh bone. And then we're going to take our hand in the crease of the lifted leg and draw the hip towards the opposite heel, leveling out the hip and creating a little more space in the SI joint. And then we'll slowly release. And we'll take a block on the outside of the hip of the lifted leg. From here, they'll take their strap in the lifted leg. You'll descend the thigh bone again, and you'll descend the shoulder, so that they're anchored, and then the block is firming in the outer hip. Again, preventing them from just flopping over to the side, and also educating the firming in of the hips. On the inhale, come back up to center. And on the exhale, they can shake it out and let it down. Supta Padangusthasana, supine big toe posture.